Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree. Um, Today I'm going to go down memory lane again, and we're talking about breakdancing memories. So, um, all right. I've told bits and pieces of this story as relevant to different topics, but I mostly grew up in Kansas, rural Kansas. You know, so I wasn't really exposed to other cultures or ethnicities or people groups, LGBT people or people of color or indigenous people or anything like that. You know, Mostly just, cis, het, uh, Christian, white, regular, pasty, boring old American stereotypical blah. That was my, childhood. Um, and then in 1997, we left Kansas and Nebraska, the Midwest, and we moved to Nevada. And I moved to a town where there were no white people, hardly at all. Um, I was one of three white people in my class. Um, um, and I was exposed to other cultures and other ethnicities and people of color and LGBT people for the first time in my life. Now, I had already fostered an affinity for hip hop music, you know, started with, Vanilla Ice and then MC Hammer. And then eventually I got into Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and all them, because that's what was on the radio or what was on MTV, what my friends at school were listening to, or the bullies at school were listening to, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, so I did get into the hip hop scene without fully understanding what was going on. So I started watching hip hop documentaries on MTV. The first one was their hip hop back in the day. And then I started reading about the history of hip hop online when I got to the internet um, in 1999 when we first got access to the World Wide Web. Throughout all of this, I had seen breakdancing on TV and music videos. So I was, passively familiar with the concept. I knew it was a type of flashy dance and I knew nothing else about it. As I was researching hip hop culture, which my um, diverse group of friends were exposing me to. I had friends who were Hispanic. I had friends who were African American. I had friends who were in the queer community. I had friends who were other ethnicities. I had some Muslim friends. Um, just a broader, diverse group of people. And so as they were exposing me to their cultures, as well as the broader hip hop culture, I started to understand more that it was more than just rap music. There were the the mantra was four elements. There was graffiti, rapping, DJing, and breakdancing. Um, and I've already talked about my time as a DJ and how I had a hip hop crew and I used to make rap music and all that stuff. But throughout that, I was also a breakdancer. Me and my friends, or my crew, if you want to call us that, each learned how to breakdance, and we used to compete against other breakdancers in what is referred to in the breakdance community as battling. And then we started buying videotapes from shops in the mall of the Battle of the Year, as well as Mr. Wiggles instructional breakdance videos and things like that. Just different videotapes to learn how to breakdance. This was before YouTube, where you could just Google how do you do the windmill. We had to watch other people do it frame by frame, pause it and go frame by frame and try to figure out what they were doing and then try to mimic them. You can't tell by looking at me because I'm considerably overweight, but I'm also in my 40s. But when I was in high school, I was very athletic, very fit, physically fit. And I got that way because I was a breakdancer. Um, I was mostly attracted to robot dancing and popping and locking. I did robot dancing. I did pop locking. I learned how to mime, which you use in pop locking. And that was what I mostly learned. I was like the pop locker. Um, my one of my friends, who I'm not gonna name names, but one of my friends, he was the short guy. We'll just call him Shorty for this video. Shorty was the cut dude. He had the six pack. He had the guns. So he learned how to do the power moves. The flares, the windmills, the head spins. Um, my other friend, we'll just call him Fat Ass. Uh, that's what we call. I mean, that was our nickname for him. He was, well, he had another nickname, but he preferred Fat Ass to the other nickname. So we'll just call him Fat Ass. No disrespect, not fat shaming. I'm fat myself, but that's what we called him. That's the name we went by. I'm not using his real nickname or his real name. But Fat Ass was like me. He had an affinity for pop locking, but he was more into waves and glides. So waves are like this. I don't know if you can see this. Where's the camera? Where you do this kind of stuff, and glides. I can't demonstrate glides because I'm sitting down and I have a broken foot. I walk with a cane, so I can't really demonstrate any of this stuff. But he was more proficient in waves and glides and stuff like that. Um, uh, the other kid, who I'm going to be actual honest, I don't even remember his name anyways. So I'm going to call him Hillbilly because he was from Texas. So Hillbilly, his style, if you will, is referred to in the breakdance community as biting. What that means is he would see somebody else do a move and he would just rip them off. Literally in the battle, he would just repeat whatever move they did. Um, he was an asshole. There's a whole story behind that. We chased him out of town. So good riddance, Texan. Tex. I'll just call him Tex. It's easier than Hillbilly. I don't know if Hillbilly is offensive to Texans. Because I guess Hillbillies are from, the real South. Not the fake wannabe South that Texas is. I think Hillbillies come from, like, North Carolina or Kentucky. Um, anyways, fuck Texas, by the way. I'm sure I've said that before. Anyways, and then there were a couple other kids. Each one had their own style. Now, we all learned the basics. So even though we each had our own, like, thing, we still learned the basics. So even though I was mostly the pop locker robot dancer, I could headspin. I could do handstands and backflips. I could do the 1990s, which the 1990s is a move where you do a one-handed handstand and then you rotate 180 degrees on your hand, on the palm of your hand. I could do that move. I could not do the full flare, but I could do the pose. So I could like do a half flare, but I didn't have the speed or the guns to get the momentum to maintain it. Just Google breakdance move the flare if you want an idea. Um, I could get in the position and hold myself up and stay there, as a freeze move. I also was really good at freezes. So what a freeze is where you do half a move. You start to do a move like the windmill or a head spin or a back spin or whatever, and then you contort your body in a way where you kind of pose and then you freeze midair. So I was really good at freezes. I could head spin. I could balance on my head all day long. Could, past tense. I don't think I could anymore. I wouldn't risk it today, but back when I was a teenager, I could. And one of the competing breakdance crews had a move where he would jump from his feet onto his head and slide across the floor on his head and then upside down walk across the floor. He would be walking while he was on his head and slide across the floor. The Texan tried to bite that move, and it didn't work out for him because he was not prepared. So fuck you, Tex. But anyways, uh, most of the time we did our breakdancing in the backyard. We would just throw cardboard on, just throw down some cardboard on the concrete in the parking lot. But me and my friend, what did I call him? Shorty. Me and Shorty took my dad's tools out of the tool shed, and we walked around town scavenging scrap wood. Everywhere we could get, we would pull it off of, dilapidated buildings. We would get it from behind the bar. If it had like, a board on the window, we would just yank it off. Um, we'd go to construction sites and ask them for scrap woods. And then we built a breakdancing floor platform in our backyard. Our backyards were adjacent. He was my next door neighbor. So our backyards touched. So it was like his backyard and my backyard. So when I say our backyard, I don't mean he lived with us. I just mean we shared a backyard. Um, so we built this platform in our backyard, and we used to break dance on it and practice. We also did a lot of breakdancing in what should have been gym class. Now, I was not enrolled in gym class. I was actually enrolled in home ec, but I would sneak out of home ec and go to the gym where gym class was taking place, and we would, power up the boom box, crank up the tunes, and breakdance during gym class. The PE teacher didn't give a shit because it was athletic, and he just wanted to see the kids being athletic, so he let us do what we wanted. He let me go, even though I wasn't in that class, he didn't give a shit. He didn't say anything. And the home ec teacher didn't give a shit. She didn't say anything either. So we did that, and then there were after school battles. High school, we'd have, you know, parties, after, weekend high school parties, like I said in my DJ video, me and my friends would DJ high school parties, and then we would set up, we would clear the space in the kitchen or the living room or dining, whichever room had the most floor space. We would clear the space and then just do breakdance moves. Um, but we also did competitions against other crews at the school dances, Sweetheart Ball, prom, etc. I remember one time, up to this point, I was the DJ. I was DJing it was the Sweetheart Ball. I was DJing Sweetheart Ball, and Shorty was going around hyping the crowd. You know, he was on the mic and he was doing the old school, hip hop thing where I was DJing and he was hyping the crowd. He wasn't rapping, but he was hyping the crowd, like, hey, come on out. Can you do the worm? Let me see you worm. And then someone would come and do the worm. Shit like that. Just hyping the crowd. Now, unbeknownst to the public, God damn it, I almost said his name. Well, fuck it. Izzy. Shit. Shorty, had been learning how to do the windmill. Now, he had already showed off his head spins, but everybody could head spin. The head spin and the back spin are like your basic breakdance moves. They look impressive to someone who can't do it, but they're actually the easiest moves to learn because once you learn how to stand on your head and balance, which isn't hard, it's really just balance. Spinning is just kick your legs and basically gravity and momentum take over. You don't have to do anything. The G-forces do it all. You basically just have to kick your legs and the rest is, science. But unbeknownst to the rest of the crowd, not only had he been learning how to head spin and doing some other, flexes and stuff, freezes and stuff, he had actually learned how to do the windmill, but he hadn't shown it off in public yet. I remember this is a high school dance, small town. People have seen the windmill in music videos on MTV, but they'd never seen anybody that they knew do it in real life in person. So when we were playing the tune, I went out and did my robot moves first to break the ice. I was like, hey, introducing me and my crew. And then after I did my robot moves, Shorty went out and he did some, hot stepping, he did some up rock, some top rock, some down rock. He did the 6-step, he did his little, crab walk, and then he did a backspin. Everyone had seen the backspin before, but then he did a second backspin and he kicked up and no one knew what he was going to do. They probably thought he was going to freeze and pose, but instead he turned it into a windmill and he just kept going. And I'm not making this up. The crowd got so loud that the police came and shut down the dance because they thought there was a riot because the people were cheering so loud because they'd never seen it before. Like I said, they'd seen it on MTV, but they'd never seen it in person. And so we had to stop the dance, turn the music off, turn on the lights, and explain to the cops what had happened. This was before cell phones, so we didn't have any video. And the cops were like, all right, just keep it down because you're making way too much ruckus. And that obviously killed the mood. But that was pretty fucking cool. That's a really awesome memory I of the crowd just being so loud that the cops thought there was a riot because they were cheering so loud. Because you're talking teenagers who had never seen anybody do this thing before. And again, small town. Probably not wouldn't have had that kind of reaction in a big city, or in a town, probably wouldn't have had that reaction if people seen it like, oh yeah, no, that's just Bob. He does that, no big deal. But this was a kid that people didn't even, because he had just started breakdancing like 6 months ago. We hadn't even been doing it. This was like our literally first public performance. And people were expecting us to do like, the worm and a backspin and, some six step and a couple of waves and maybe some robot moves. That's what they were expecting. They weren't expecting him to pop out a power move. This kid he was 14 at the time, who had only been doing it for 6 months. No one expected him to pop out a power move. And no one else who had been breakdancing in town, none of the other crews, could do that move. Because nobody else had been learning that move. We were all still learning the basics. Now, he told me he was going to learn that move, but he didn't let me watch him practice. He was like, no, I'm gonna practice, in the garage where no one can see me. And when I can do it, I'll show people I can do it. Because he didn't want people to see him failing. Because it's a very dangerous move and you can hurt yourself if you're not careful, which I did when I was doing a move I'm not going to try to identify. I hurt myself and had to wear a neck brace for a good long time. And my dad, obviously, he made the same quip, the same dumbass dad joke every dad makes. I guess that's why they call it breakdancing. Fuck off, Dad. No disrespect to my dad, but come on. That's the most unoriginal breakdance dad joke that there has ever been written. It's not even original. It's just like every dad has said that to their kid. Every dad has said that to their kid who breakdances. It's not funny. But anyways, those are my breakdancing memories. After I got out of high school, I'm like I said previously, I was the most popular kid in high school. I was student council president. I was the DJ. I was the rapper. I had a crew. We ran our school. We were like the popular clique. We were the table that you wanted to sit at. And if we said no, then you were the nerd and then you just went and sat. I don't know where the nerds sat. I didn't fucking pay attention to the nerds back then. Me and my friends were too busy running our fucking school, But yeah, once I got out of high school, life changed. Doesn't matter if you're a god in high school or not. As soon as you get out of high school, you're fucking nobody. They don't give a shit. Oh, you can breakdance. Who gives a fuck? Wash the dishes. Oh, you can rap. That's fucking nice. Do it on your own time. Man the cash register. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. So yeah, hard reality. Then I went to work at Pizza Hut and I got fat. And after I got fat, I decided I didn't want to break dance anymore. And then after I broke my foot permanently and started walking with a cane, I realized that I couldn't break dance anymore, even if I wanted to. And now that I'm in my 40s, it's like, yeah, that ship has sailed. Past tense. Yes, there are YouTube videos of me and my friends breakdancing. No, you will not find them. Because I've had most of them taken down or privatized because of Dead Name. And most of my friends respect the fact that I've transitioned to Stephanie, and they're like, yeah, don't show videos of Dead Name, because they respect, trans people, because you're supposed to, because that's what you do. Stay cool.